Up until recently, and from around the time of his conviction in 2005, Sandra Lean has been at the forefront of a campaign claiming that Luke Mitchell was wrongfully convicted of the murder of his 14-year-old girlfriend, Jodie Jones. Jodie's body was found behind a wall in Dalkeith on the evening of June 30th, 2003. She'd been strangled, her throat had been cut several times, and there was also post-mortem mutilation, which the pathologist agreed was calm and deliberate. Luke Mitchell was convicted of the murder in January 2005. His conviction was based on a string of circumstantial evidence. In 2018, Sandra Lean published a book called Innocence Betrayed, where she not only highlights what she believes to be issues within the investigation of Jodie's murder, but where she makes several claims about the victim's family and their behaviour around that time in an attempt to suggest guilty knowledge on their behalf. The author of the book has made claims online and in videos and interviews, pointing the finger towards Jodie's family. In this video, we're going to go through some of the main points used by Sandra Lean over the years to persuade her followers and supporters of the campaign that Jodie's family knew more than they were letting on. We're going to compare this with information from recently released court transcripts, as well as looking at the language used by Sandra Lean in her attempt to persuade. Number 1. The search party changed their stories. One of the main claims made by Sandra Lean, and consequently her supporters, is that Jodie's grandmother, sister and sister's boyfriend all changed their stories in relation to how the body was found and the events surrounding this. Jodie's mum texted Luke's phone at around 10:38 p.m. on the evening of the murder, asking Jodie to come home. She did this because Jodie didn't have a working phone of her own. Luke agreed to make his way up to her mum's house to assist her, but on the way up the path he met Jodie's grandmother, sister and sister's boyfriend. Sandra Lean alleges online and in interviews that they all agreed with Luke initially that his dog had pulled him towards the wall that Jodie's body lay behind, and that they all later changed their stories. While there is evidence that Janine, Jodie's sister, and her then boyfriend Stephen Kelly did mention Luke's dog pulling towards the wall, there is no record of Alice Walker, Jodie's grandmother, mentioning the dog reacting at all. It is maintained, however, by campaigners and Sandra Lean herself that all three had initially described the dog reacting at the wall. Sandra doesn't even directly state this in her book. She does, however, mention the two others, and she is correct in saying that they did talk about the dog pulling towards the wall. They did not, however, refuse to accept that they had ever said this. In her book, Sandra states, "Because Janine and Stephen Kelly refused to accept the content of their police statements as correct at trial, the prosecutor, in his final speech to the jury, was able to say, 'In the evidence of all the other people who were there is no record whatsoever of the dog reacting at the wall.' Those records, of course, were in statements." He went on to ask, how could each one of them have missed this most graphic moment of the dog up on the wall, paws up on the wall, sniffing away? At trial, Stephen Kelly is asked, "So if you told the police that you had a recollection of the dog going to the wall, paws against the wall, you walk on behind Alice down the barley field, not paying attention to what Luke was doing. Presumably when you make that statement to the police on July 30th, that's what you recollected. Obviously yes." He replies, "If that's what's in my statement, that's what I remembered at the time, yeah." Janine is asked, "In your first statement to the police have you noted us saying, 'Luke's dog was on a lead at all times, but it started jumping about at the wall. Do you remember it doing that?' She replies, 'I can't remember. If it's in the statement, it must be correct.'" Even if it was inaccurate of the prosecuting QC to say there was no record of the dog reacting at the wall, these two witnesses did not deny what they had said in their early statements, and the jury did get to hear about those statements. Again, there is no evidence of Alice Walker changing anything. On pages 63 and 64 of Innocence Betrayed, Sandra says, "The changed stories of the search trio all claimed by the time of the trial that Luke had always been at the front of the search party and had not gone past the V-point then doubled back, but instead went straight to it. Their earlier police statements indicated that Stephen and Janine had overtaken Luke a couple of times and that they carried on walking down the path after Luke doubled back to the V-point. The implication being that they were with him past the V when the dog reacted. Sandra doesn't actually say here that there were statements confirming Luke doubled back after walking past the V. She uses words like indicated and implication, based on her own interpretation, an interpretation that not only goes in Luke's favour, but makes the search party out to be dishonest. There's no evidence whatsoever that any of the search party, other than Luke, mentioned him doubling back. Luke said that he walked past the V-brake and then back against the climb over after his trained tracker dog Mia reacted past the V-brake. There is no evidence of the others saying Luke walked past the V. In fact, Janine is asked in court, "Have you ever said to the police at any time at all that Luke walked past the V-brake and came back again?" She replies no. The next claims we're going to look at really show the willingness of Sandra Lean to not only twist and alter court evidence, but to utilise outright disinformation in an attempt to smear the victim's family.
Another cold, hard fact is hidden right there in plain view in Alice Walker's response to Donald Finlay at trial. We know we asked her why they'd gone directly to the path without checking anywhere else, and Alice replied, "We just did."
This just never happened. Alice Walker wasn't asked in court how she knew to go directly to the path, nor did she say at any point, "We just did." Sandra Lean is again telling members of the public that witnesses said something that they absolutely did not say. Why is she doing this? To make the family of a 14-year-old murder victim appear as if they were the ones with guilty knowledge.
It hadn't occurred to me before. That was an admission, a confirmation that that's exactly what happened. She didn't disagree with Finlay or try to argue that they had looked for Jodie anywhere else. No, she agreed that they went directly to the path without looking.
But Alice Walker did provide reasons in court as to why she went to the path. She said she knew Jodie used that path, and that was the reason she wanted to check there. The meeting on the path. Timeline. One of Sandra's other attempts at implying guilty knowledge on behalf of Jodie's family lies in the meeting time on the path and her assumption that the search trio must have left before it was even confirmed that Jodie was missing, in order to have met Luke at 11:10 on the path. Her assumption that they met at 11:10 on the path is based on the time it would have taken Luke to reach the meeting point if he had been at the New Battle entrance to the path at 10:59 PM, as he apparently confirmed he was in a call to Jodie's mum at that time. Let's have a look at how she twists the scenario to make it appear as if the time anomaly is down to Jodie's family members leaving early and not down to a somewhat 15 minutes unaccounted for on Luke's part, or some other explanation. Page 148 of Innocence Betrayed. This is a serious anomaly. Based on all the known facts, the search trio could not have been waiting for Luke at the junction of the paths prior to 11:10 PM, if they left Alice's house at 11:03 or 11:09 PM. But all of the evidence demonstrates that they were waiting for Luke by the time he was a little over halfway up the path. The explanation seems obvious at first glance. Luke's timings must be wrong. The 10:59 PM call placed Luke at the New Battle entrance to the path at that point. So it's worth noting at this stage that police timed the walk from Luke's house to the entrance to the path at 7 minutes at a brisk pace. Luke arrived at the New Battle entrance exactly 10 minutes after picking up Judith's 10:49 call, leaving him just 3 minutes to have the phone conversation with Judith and the short conversation with his mother, get the torch from his brother, put the dog back on the lead and set off. The timing for this part of Luke's journey to the path, therefore, is confirmed. If the search trio arrived at the other end of the path at 11:23 PM to be waiting for him, which if they left Alice's house at 11:03 is the earliest they could have been there, then Luke must have taken at least 24 minutes to travel the path to the point where the search trio saw his torch approaching. That would be nearly 4 times longer than the police timing suggested, which is a suspiciously long time. But once again, looking at the whole picture, this possibility cannot be fitted with the other known evidence. If Luke and the search trio spotted each other at 11:23, once the 9 or 12 minutes required for the return journey are added, the search party in this scenario would not reach the V-point until 11:32 or 11:35 PM, again leaving not enough time for climbing over the wall and finding Jodie. But let's look at this in a little more detail. We know from a police reconstruction that the journey time from the meeting point between Luke and the search party to the V-shaped break was 5 minutes 26 seconds, as documented in Stephen Kelly's transcript. Those additional 7 minutes which Sandra Lean both arbitrarily and mistakenly adds on are critical. A meeting at 11:23 p.m. plus a 5-minute return journey would therefore place them all at the V-shaped break at around 11:28, some 7 minutes before Luke made his 999 call at 11:35. When they arrived at the location, Luke had statedly climbed over the wall and noticed a body within a minute or two. Plenty of time to make that phone call. Furthermore, sufficient leeway for all which reportedly occurred prior to a return 11:38 p.m. call, which Luke received from the police control room. There is nothing at all to confirm that the search trio met at 10 past 11 p.m. Again, this is an assumption that Sandra's made based on when she believes Luke left the house and based on the 10:59 call, which placed him at the entrance to New Battle. So again, there is nothing to confirm the time that Luke actually met the search trio, or that it was indeed 10 past 11. Sandra has to then provide further possibilities and reasoning as to why the search trio may have got there so early. Some of these reasons are: the search trio did not leave from Mayfield at 11:03 p.m. or 11:09 p.m, but from somewhere much closer to the path. So here she is suggesting that Jodie's family lied about the location they left from, suggesting they didn't actually leave from her grandmother's house, that they left from, say for example, Jodie's house, which was much closer to the path. The search trio did leave from Mayfield, but were transported to the junction of the path rather than walking there. Or the search trio left from Mayfield but much earlier than the claimed time of 11:03 p.m. or the reconstruction time of 11:09 p.m. At no point does she consider that Luke may have taken around 15 minutes longer walking up the path, and that they did meet around the 11:23 p.m. mark, as she herself agrees is the earliest they could have met if the search trio had left when they said they did. She does acknowledge that it would have been a suspiciously long time if they met at 11:23 p.m, and Luke had only reached the point that he did. But she attempts to rule this out with hearsay and timings that don't add up. Unfortunately, these are just a few examples of the years of persecution Sandra Lean has thrust in the direction of Jodie's family. From forums where Sandra regularly posted making claims such as her family weren't even looking for her, to claims in her book about Jodie's brother not having an alibi when he had two, his mum and his mum's partner. For years, supporters of Luke Mitchell believed these claims, with limited means of being able to check this information for themselves. When it was confirmed that transcripts were available from the court, Sandra Lean went out of her way to convince people that this could not possibly be the case. This is an individual who has managed to convince many people that she has nothing but good intentions and only cares about justice. She has been referred to by her supporters as a warrior, a hero, and someone who is willing to fight when no one else would. This is the same woman who did everything she possibly could to change evidence and falsify information to make a 14-year-old murder victim's family look like they were the guilty ones, and to make the convicted individual look like he was some kind of angel. As always, thank you for watching this video. Don't let anyone prevent you from doing your own research or trying to look at the facts for yourself. If anyone has a problem with that, it's definitely a huge red flag.
That's the thing about truth seeking. You keep digging and digging until you've dug all the way down to the cold, hard facts, however unpalatable they may be.